Trent, in the last 10 months, there's been many conversation amongst leaders about how many emergency situations they're dealing with on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. When you're thinking about planning outside of what's maybe urgently in front of us right now, what are some considerations we should be making around the emergency management systems in our organizations?
Yeah, that's a great question, Amelia, because our focus has been the current disaster, the COVID pandemic response. And what I worry about is that we're going to have that tunnel vision where we've just set everything else aside because we don't have time to deal with it. But we do know that in our municipality or airport or your organization, they're still there. So you're still going to get the natural disasters, and you're still going to have some accidents that could happen and whatnot. So what I really have been encouraging our clients and potential clients to think about moving forward is you need to carve out some time to worry about it and to make sure that if something else happens, you're ready. And still need to review your emergency plans. And I know that organizations are going to be wanting to update pandemic plans or create them because many didn't have them. But let's start taking in baby steps, and let's look at your emergency plan and make sure that those that are involved in it, your control group or your leadership team, still have the opportunity to review it and make any changes if that's needed. The other important part is, again, I know people are going to shudder when they say, we don't need to do an exercise because we've just been living in exercise. But the reality is the other risks in your plan are very much different in many ways than your response to COVID. So you are mandated to have an exercise, and I know that in some cases it's been delayed as far as compliance go, but what I would encourage you to do is just pick off smaller exercises this year. So bring your control group together for a very short time, maybe it's an hour, and just pick something that could happen. If it's an airport, so it's maybe it's a gear up issue. We just saw one happen in High Level, Alberta, and one of the airports we manage, where a King Air had to come in on its belly. So that it did happen. COVID's still going strong, but they did have an issue. So practice, take it down a notch, to little smaller steps. But you'll be thankful when something really does happen and you stuck with the program. So that'd be the first thing that I would recommend for sure.
Okay. And if you're working for an organization outside of the emergency management or realm, what sort of baby steps do you suggest taking at this point in time to be prepared to put those plans together?
Yeah, that's another great question, because I'm very passionate about this, that it shouldn't just be municipalities and hospitals and airports that should have a plan. It should be every business. And if you look at COVID and how it's really affected both small to large organizations, is they didn't have a risk management plan. They didn't have a business continuity plan. So when the wheels fall off here, we're going to recover quickly because we have this business continuity plan in place. It doesn't have to be complicated. If you're a small organization, it's something that can be done very easily. And what it would look like is when you can't bring in all your employees, here's the next step you would go to. If you can't come to your workplace because you've been ordered to shut your doors, here's some other alternatives that you can do. We've seen it in the restaurant and the small businesses that doing curbside pickup, and they've created it all on the fly. But you should really address not just COVID, but what happens if there's a fire in your building. What's your business continuity plan to move forward? So that's one thing. The other thing is we never do a great job at documenting our actions and our decisions and our, all the day-to-day business because we're too busy to do that. But I would really encourage you, if you haven't through COVID, start to document everything you think is important, because you're going to pick it up in a year's time, because you're going to need to remember something. Or, God forbid, 5 years down the road, another COVID happens and you're able to pick up your notes from the previous incident. Again, God forbid that happens, but you're prepared to do that. So the documentation is really important. The other thing that's really is really critical is to do a debriefing. So I know we're still into COVID, but we're 10 months into it. So is it time to stop and do an incident debriefing to determine what's been working and what hasn't? Have we really stopped to take a good look at that? You know, we're very passionate about it because we believe in it and we've lived it firsthand. So all of our staff and our leadership team and everybody's kind of been there, done that. So they're very passionate about what they do. It's a free consultation just to see where you can go with it. And we're also not afraid to point you in the right direction for those supports that you need. So I think that's important to note as well. It's just give us a call, send us an email, and we will look at your needs and circumstances and offer our very best advice on how to move forward. The other important part is maybe you don't have, you know, the ability right now to do something that in depth, but maybe it's just some help and advice you need, and we definitely have a great team available for that as well, for sure. So definitely reach out to us.
Great. And earlier in the conversation, you mentioned a little bit about documenting. If that is something I haven't looked at yet in my business, do you have a place to start or where you would suggest beginning to take notes to prepare?
Yeah, so we use what's called an incident event log. We're happy to send templates for that as well, but where I would start kind of taking those notes is all the events that affect your organization that could come back to haunt you, or all the events that you've made decisions. So you're documenting your actions of throughout the day. So you're not going to record things like I ordered office supplies, but it could be events like we held a meeting and we made these decisions on how we're going to provide curbside pickup, or on how we're going to set up a vaccination center, instructions to staff on safety protocols, and how, as we're returning them from the lockdown, these are the steps that we're going to take on how to ensure that our workplace is kept safe. So any really key events that's what you should capture.
Okay. And if we were recording something via Teams or Zoom or something like that, are you able to help kind of pull the information from an in-person or a virtual meeting like that?
Yeah, so doing a transcript of any of your virtual meetings is really critical. And the other part of that is you need to save the recording as well. So what you want to do is if there's any threat of going to a court or tribunal or insurance or anywhere where you're going to have to defend your notes and the actions of your decisions, you need to be able to improve the integrity of the notes. So keep your recording, but also make sure you can transcribe it through maybe your virtual tool already can do that for you, but if not, have somebody transcribe it. And then have a witness sign off on it as well as the author of those decisions that were made. And then you just put it away in case that you ever need it. And that's that's the help so you can go home and sleep at night knowing that you've documented your actions well. And that's something we definitely teach through our Scribe course, that on how to properly take notes and protect the integrity of those notes. We've actually been able to flip that course virtual, so it's not too late. You're 10 months into long COVID, but it's not too late to actually jump onto one of those courses. This is not going to only help you through COVID, but all your daily actions and decisions that you make throughout your role, regardless of what it is. So.
Great. Thank you very much.